If God had taken the form, for example, of a rare, enormously large green bird with a red beak that perched in a tree on the embankment and perhaps even whistled in an unprecedented manner, then our party-going man would surely have his eyes open. For the first time in his life, he would have been able to be the first. Søren Kierkegaard's vision of the green bird with the red beak allegorizes humanity's craving for spectacle over genuine faith. The party guest, embodying a restless modern psyche, does not see God as he is, but as an overwhelming spectacle, loud, visible, and undeniable. Yet this desire is self-deception, mistaking validation for faith. Kierkegaard's critique is a hermeneutics of divine hiddenness. We demand grand designs because we resist fate's inward call. If God were a magnificent bird, belief would be effortless. No leap, no struggle. But true faith is chosen, known in silence, pain, and the inner striving. We chase the extraordinary, yet miss the divine in the ordinary. God has already spoken, not in spectacle, but in Christ's quiet call to the individual. The guest's blindness mirrors Christendom's, which Kierkegaard saw as reducing Christianity to mere tradition. The parable urges us to shift our vision. God is not in grand displays, but in life's stillness, suffering, and death. An idea at the heart of Kierkegaard's thought. Søren Kierkegaard, the father of existentialism, differed from many existentialists in his deep Christian faith. Like Nietzsche, he respected Jesus, but rejected the institutional church, seeing it as a herd-like structure that stifled true faith. Faced with this disillusionment, one could choose atheism or mysticism. Kierkegaard chose the latter. Faith for him was a personal, passionate relationship with God, not a matter of reason but of lived experience. He despised the church for fostering dependence and instead championed the solitary individual, in whom true faith could flourish. His goal was to ignite a passionate living faith in his readers through indirect communication, a method inspired by Socrates, using pseudonyms and contradictions to force critical thinking. Like Socrates, Kierkegaard sought to awaken individuals from conformity, urging them toward authentic existence. As a missionary within Christendom, he aimed not to convert outsiders missionary, but to transform passive believers into true individuals of faith. Kierkegaard's work divided into three periods: his first authorship, second authorship, and his final attack on the church. Few philosophers wrote as prolifically between 1843 and 1846. He published 16 books, including Either Or and Fear and Trembling. His urgency mirrored that of Nietzsche, driven by a fatalistic belief inherited from his father, Michael Kierkegaard, who, haunted by youthful blasphemy, feared his children would die before 33. Raised in his father's melancholy, Soren saw tragedy reinforce this doom. By 21, he had lost two mothers and 5 siblings. This shaped his obsession with authenticity, captured in his 1835 journal entry. The thing is to find the truth, which is truth for me, to find the idea for which I am willing to live and die. And what use would it be in this respect if I were to discover a so-called objective truth, or if I worked my way through the philosopher's systems and were able to call them all to account on request, point out inconsistencies in every single circle? Mortality and a thirst for meaning fueled his work, but so did his broken engagement to Regine Olsen. After proposing in 1839, he abruptly ended it, hinting at an unspoken secret. Whether due to faith, attachment issues, or financial concerns, the breakup deeply influenced his writings on love, faith, and despair. Michael Kierkegaard left Soren an inheritance sufficient for a solitary life, but not for supporting a family. This economic reality, along with his desire for independence and writing, may have cemented his loneliness. His broken engagement and awareness of death fueled his imagination, driving him to write 16 books in 3 years, ending with concluding unscientific postscript in 1846. Kierkegaard's early work explores three modes of existence: the aesthetic, ethical, and religious stages. The aesthetic stage, common in modernity, embodies hedonistic nihilism, not sensual indulgence, but the refined pleasures of the dandy of Bohemian. The aesthetic life, as Kierkegaard describes in Either Or, is defined by distraction and detachment, fleeing boredom rather than seeking pleasure. Life becomes a series of diversions, shows, parties, raves, keeping true engagement at bay. How dreadful boredom is, how dreadfully boring. I see only emptiness, live on emptiness, move in emptiness. The aesthete clings to possibility over actuality, using irony and skepticism to maintain distance from life itself. The ethical stage, the second in Kierkegaard's threefold path, replaces self-absorbed pleasure with moral responsibility. Unlike the detached aesthete, the ethical person engages with society. In Either Or, marriage exemplifies this stage, demanding honesty, intimacy, and commitment, embracing reality over endless possibilities. The ethical life invites responsibility, aligning with Hegel's Sittlichkeit, society's moral order. Here, good and evil are measured by societal norms. The ethical person sees the aesthete as selfish, trapped in a narcissistic dream instead of living in reality. The religious stage, Kierkegaard's highest level, is best illustrated by Abraham's sacrifice of Isaac, explored in Fear and Trembling. Faith for Kierkegaard is not adherence to doctrine, but a lived experience. One we must choose, and always choose, with eternal stakes. This choice produces anxiety, the weight of deciding for all time, yet also the freedom of self-creation. Faith transcends ethics, as seen in Abraham's dilemma. Morally, his act is murder. Religiously, it is sacrifice. Faith is beyond reason. It requires a leap, an embrace of the absurd. In the evening, he smokes his pipe. He knows the blessedness of infinity. He has felt the pain of renouncing everything, the most precious thing in the world, and yet the finite tastes just as good to him as to one who never knew everything higher. He resigned everything infinitely, and then grasped everything again by virtue of the absurd. Unlike Hegel, Kierkegaard holds that faith and reason cannot be reconciled. The aesthetic stage centers on the individual, the ethical on society, and the religious on God, each layer encompassing the one before it, leading to higher being. Kierkegaard's second authorship was shaped by a personal crisis, specifically the relentless public ridicule he suffered from The Corsair, a satirical newspaper he had openly challenged. This episode deeply affected him, forcing him into isolation and leading to a shift in his writing. While his first authorship was characterized by indirect communication, irony, and pseudonyms, his second authorship became more direct and focused on Christian themes. During this period, Kierkegaard moved away from the purely individual struggle with faith and instead examined how authentic belief interacts with society. He criticized modernity for fostering an impersonal, passionless crowd that suppressed true individuality. In the two ages, he attacked the indifferent nature of modern life, where people became passive and lost in collective existence rather than embracing personal responsibility. His critique of this societal conformity extended into his discussion of love in Works of Love, where he differentiated between eros, a preferential and desire-based love, and agape, a universal and selfless love that reflects Christ's teachings. Agape, he argued, is not a matter of emotion or attraction, but rather a divine responsibility to love one's neighbor unconditionally. Kierkegaard also explored the theme of despair in Sickness unto Death, defining it as the ultimate spiritual failure, the loss of one's true self due to an inauthentic existence. He argued that those who conform to societal expectations, seeking external approval rather than embracing faith, ultimately live in despair even if they appear successful by worldly standards. This theme of inauthenticity later influenced existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre. As his second authorship progressed, Kierkegaard increasingly took on the tone of a prophet, warning of spiritual decay and calling for return to authentic faith. He grew critical of the established church, which he believed had strayed from true Christianity, and urged individuals to model their faith on Abraham's radical trust in God. His final works, including Practicing Christianity, continued this theme, emphasizing the need for a personal and transformative relationship with God rather than a complacent adherence to religious institutions. Through this second authorship, Kierkegaard deepened his philosophical and theological contributions, shifting from abstract existential reflection to a passionate call for genuine Christian living. His works from this period remain a powerful critique of modern society and a challenge to embrace faith in a world that often suppresses true individuality. In his final year, Kierkegaard abandoned subtlety and launched a direct attack on the church, condemning it as unchristian. His main criticism was political. He opposed the church's alliance with the state, arguing that it fostered complacency rather than true Christian practice. He also believed Christianity demanded too little, reducing faith to passive observance rather than an intense individual struggle with God. For him, true Christianity was personal, not a collective tradition. He said, if men had forgotten what it means to exist religiously, they had doubtless also forgotten what it means to exist as human beings. This must therefore be set forth. His critics appeared in newspapers and his self-published pamphlets the moment. Before releasing the 10th issue, he collapsed and later died on November 11, 1855 at age 42. Kierkegaard distinguishes between objective and subjective truth, particularly in religious belief. Objective truth pertains to probable facts, while subjective truth requires an inward commitment that shapes one's existence. Understanding God solely through reason, reducing him to an intellectual idea rather than a being encountered through faith. Unlike mathematical or scientific truths, which require no personal investment, religious truth demands a leap of trust beyond reason. This leap is not irrational, but essential to a meaningful existence. For Kierkegaard, faith is not a mere acceptance. It is an existential commitment that gives life meaning, especially amid uncertainty.